Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Olivia Gamber podcast. And today I am so excited for you all and myself to get to know Megan Camille. Megan is a psychic intuitive business consultant who has built her two seven-figure and multi six-figure businesses from scratch, relying solely on her intuition and inner guidance. And as a mother with no college education, Megan understands firsthand the challenges that come with starting a business from the ground up while also raising kids. Wow. Thank you so much for joining us, Megan. I'm excited to talk to you.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to dive in.
Yeah, so I'm really genuinely interested in your business paradigm of leading with your intuition because that's such a new forward thinking concept. When did you start to really get to that place where you could trust your intuition to guide your business and your career and where you were going?
Yeah, well, intuition has really been a part of my life from the beginning. Even as a little girl, I was extremely intuitive, extremely psychic. I could see into other realms, and although it was really disturbing then, I share all of that just to say that it's really been with me for quite a while. And the first time I started doing professional intuitive readings, I was only 15 years old. And my mother, who was an entrepreneur, she had groups of women that she would support and coach. This was, gosh, almost 20 years ago at this point, and or at least 20 years ago. And so I was kind of like in the bonus, right? That she would bring me into these groups. And this was a breadcrumb for me that it was really a foreshadow to my future where I was sitting and consulting with these C-suite executive women and business owners and giving them intuitive readings. And so I was really experiencing already the power of intuition my entire life. And then in my early 20s, I started wondering, like, what would it look like if I used this skill? I don't necessarily call it a gift because we all have it, right? Like it's a muscle. Everyone has this skill that can be harnessed and honed. And I started wondering what that would look like if I turned that around and supported myself in the same way that I had spent about a decade doing it for other people. And that was really where I started seeing a shift in my life that I had no idea that this was in my future, that I've actually built 4 businesses in the last 10 years. And so at that time, when I started turning this around and using my intuition for myself, I had no idea what was to come. But I thought at that time, hey, even if I can do just a little, if I can earn just a little bit of money at this point in my life, I was a young single mom. I thought that that would just be the greatest thing ever. If I could earn just a little bit of money and then I didn't have to choose between putting my little itty bitty kid, breastfeeding baby and a toddler in childcare all day just so I could work to barely afford their childcare, maybe I could learn to generate my own money and be home with them and do all of the above. I had no idea that this was what was in store, but that's where it started with using my intuition for myself and my own businesses.
Wow, there's so much to unpack here. And so as I'm just listening to you and I'm imagining a single mom building this massive business that makes seven figures, I mean, that's really rare because I know a lot of the single moms that I connect with are just like so exhausted. They're kind of like in survival mode, let alone having a vision and trusting their intuition. So I'm just really interested to hear, how did you break through and really get connected to that power?
Well, I think there's a couple of things that were a blessing, right? Like the naivety of a brand new entrepreneur, not really knowing all that is in store served me. Like it served me not knowing everything that would come, because if I would see the life that I hold now, the responsibility and the privilege that I hold now, that version of myself would have been like, fuck no, I can't do that. I am not prepared to do that. Never mind. I don't know. No, that's not what I want. So really it was actually the freedom of having a smaller vision, right? It was just like, I just want to support me and my babies. And that to me was happily ever after, right? And so oftentimes that's how it plays. We actually don't need to know all of the steps. We don't need to have proof of where we're going in order to get started. Often what I say is clarity is for the employee and courage is for the entrepreneur. You don't have to know what it looked like to just simply be courageous enough to start. And that's what got me through, was just starting. And I too was really overwhelmed. And so I couldn't actually imagine going and working 40 hours a week, right? Like that seemed even more daunting and overwhelming as a single mom than learning how to create and generate my own money. And so I started, and after they went to bed, after my babies went to bed, I would have maybe 60 to 90-minute window in there. And that's where I leveraged. That's where I leveraged that time, that spaciousness to imagine. I was kind of in between a couple of opportunities at that time. And so that was where I had the most time free, was when they went to bed. And I just stayed with it every night. I'm going to learn this new thing. I'm going to learn this new thing. I'm going to hone this skill of following my intuition. And even though I don't know the end result, I'm just going to take the next step. Just the next step.
Wow, that's such a strong faith muscle because it's so rare to let go of needing to know where you're going, especially when you're the sole provider for your family. So, did this just come to you because naturally you've always been more just faithful?
I don't know that I'm all that faithful, I am now because I have so much proof of what moving forward with trust and intuition can do and provide. At that time, I was desperate, right? Like I didn't have much faith that it was going to work out. I just didn't have a whole lot of options. I was a young single mom. My previous husband, the father of my 2 older children, was not going to support me. We hadn't been married long enough. It's not like I could actually get any sort of alimony or support in that way. It was just a sudden shift in my life. And so I had what some people would call really difficult circumstances. And at the time they felt like very difficult circumstances. And now I felt like they are a blessing in disguise. They're a gift. One was I had a record because in my late teens, I was sex trafficked. And unfortunately, in that industry, it is the women and the victims of the panderers and those that exploit the women. They really kind of fly under the radar, right? And those that end up with lifelong consequences are the quote unquote victims. I don't feel that way of myself now. But when I left, I was the one with the record. And here I was kind of forced into these things that I wouldn't have naturally done all on my own. And so that was something that some people might call really difficult. And it was hard, but it was also a blessing that I was not very employable. Right? There really wasn't that many jobs that I could, 1, get, and 2, would pay enough to support 2 kids. And then the other one was, desperate. Like, what am I going to do? I have to do something. I have to do something. And so some people have, golden handcuffs of corporate. And I would say that can be much more challenging to overcome than, whoa, I really don't have another option, right? I am my option. I have to bet on me to support these beautiful babies. And so, of course, I'm going to do whatever it takes. Whereas people who have the golden handcuffs, they're like, is it worth it? Is it worth it? Well, my option was not being able to support my kid. My option was homeless. My option was living off of the state support for the rest of my life. So for me, that was the one way to go, right? So it was both a gift and and a really, really challenging speed bump for sure.
Wow. Like you really had no plan B, so you had to be committed. So that forced commitment to your path is like, it was a competitive advantage, I guess, because it's like you have nowhere else to go.
Yeah, what is that saying? If you want to own the island, burn the boat. I had no boat, right? There was no other in the island. It was, I am going to do this. And again, my vision then wasn't as big as it is now. It was just sustainability, self-sustainability. I want to be able to sustain my family. Now, that at that point in my life, having that commitment to do that, because the other was just not a life I would want to give my children, right? That sort of commitment through the difficulty is what has allowed me to do this 4 times over. It's what has allowed me to support hundreds of clients in staying committed to that vision, as I know that what is on the other side of initiation or difficult, challenging experiences is the promised land. It is paradise. It is what is beyond safe and good. And so that is a muscle that maybe initially I didn't plan on working, but I got to work. And it's for sure served me over and over and over and over to say, this is what I'm doing. There is no plan B.
I love that. It's so powerful to have that commitment and that consistency and dedication and devotion to that path, because it's the only way, in my opinion, 0 to 1 million even, it's like it it's intense. And
Yeah.
so for you to do that with children and now be operating from this mindset of ease and flow, like how did you get from the transition of building and breaking through financially and getting out of like that survival mode to the more, ease and flow, 3 hours a day type of work?
Yeah. Well, another initiation, another initiation about 4 years into my entrepreneurial journey was complete and utter burnout. I had made it to multiple 6 figures. I was in my second business at that point, doing really well from the outside, from mainstream standards, very, very well, right? But I worked a lot, probably 12-hour days, Monday through Friday. And so while it was my own business, my own vision, I had actually replicated the imprint of 9 to 5. Right? I had replicated a job. I had replicated someone else's career.
Yeah.
And so while there was financial success and a lot of great things that came with that, right? A lifestyle that, I out-earned my previous husband, which I remember my first goal was like, if I could just make what he made, he's a professor at a college, then that would be great, because us not being together doesn't mean my children sacrifice a particular lifestyle. So if I could just do that. And about 2 years in, I remember him joking, "Are you hiring?" Right? And that was when I was like, yeah, right. At least humanness, my ego was just like so excited. Like, oh my God, I out-earned him. Yes. And only after that, I was in complete burnout and lost everything. I just emotionally, mentally had ran myself into the ground, still a single mom. And I was at the point of, I just let everything go. So a beautiful home and cars and a whole entire business, I burned to the ground. I scrapped. I moved in with my mom. I thought it would be a 30-day thing. And it was a 9-month initiation. And that was really where I learned how to lead businesses in a part-time manner, part-time hours for full-time pay. And that was the true turning point of my life. It really wasn't the entrepreneur that could make multiple 6 figures as a single mom, because I was not fulfilled. I wasn't in joy, and I wasn't a very present mom. I was like really working to keep all things afloat, and I was relying solely on myself. And so once that business crumbled, I let that go and mourned that identity, mourned that life. I restarted, and that is where Megan Camille Enterprises was born. Intuitive Business Consulting and the Sophia Mystery School, two separate entities. And I honed my skills there of being able to lead a business and lead a team, making multiple 7 figures in 3 hours a day. And that comes down to a lot of inner work, a lot of leadership, inner leadership, not leadership of other people. I really had to learn how to lead myself first. And then that could start rippling out into my business, into my offers, into my team. And so that is the biggest thing, was my own inner leadership to help me hone in on what was most important. And it just doesn't take 40 or 50 hours to run a 7-figure business. It just doesn't require that, right? When we're really aligned with the purpose and the mission, it doesn't require us trading our time or sacrificing our family or our own self-care to be prosperous or to be impactful for the world.
And you've got such empowering and liberating belief systems that are just so expansive, and I can resonate with it because I've been in that similar trap where I'm like, we forget that we started a business for freedom, and we create all this work and this pattern of needing it to be hard, and then breaking free of that can be scary and liberating at the same time. So I'm curious, like, what was the most pivotal moment for you when you're like, I get it, I can actually do a lot less and make more? Like, I really would love to hear what the shift was.
Mm-hmm. Well, one, you kind of said it right there, is like, my prosperity and freedom doesn't require struggle, sacrifice, or pain. I can actually receive my soul evolution and these life gifts and ease and grace. It actually doesn't have to be through struggle and pain. And that was just a particular programming that I had going, that like, okay, I want a great result, so I need to work really hard and feel some sort of pain in order to be able to open up to that result of wealth or freedom, or restructuring how I operate, what I believe, what I choose to act on, because what we believe and then what we act on are sometimes very, very different. What you act on actually shows you what you believe. So if you're sitting around saying, I believe that I can be a millionaire, and then the actions that you take are not giving that to you, we know that isn't really what you believe. We know that that's what you want to believe. We know that that's what you aspire to expand into, but it isn't actually matching the actions that you're taking, right? So it's really creating cohesiveness between the energetic. What is it that is in my field, within my own body, within my own mind, and then the action, where those things often for people don't match. And so I started coming into congruency with those two things, that what I believed, I would start taking action on those, right? So if I believed that I could make $1 million a year working 3 hours a day, well, I had to stop working at 3 hours a day, right? And really move into that. That doesn't mean that I don't have much work ethic. I mean, I've built 4 businesses and raised 5 children, and I've got accountability and I've got work ethic, right? But what I got to work was receivership, was opening up into wealth without sacrificing. So that was one of the shifts, is, are my actions congruent with what I believe I am building, what I believe I believe? Oftentimes we don't actually believe what we think we believe, right? So being really aware of how multifaceted I was, that I was beyond the action, that I also had this energy all the time, and then to create those two, right? To really create congruency between the action and the belief.
This is so powerful because it's just so subtle, and it's emotional and it's energy. So how do you go about helping guide your clients to identify that lack of congruence and shifting that internal work they need to do to get to the place where they're finally moving differently?
Well, I haven't seen anyone do it on their own. And that's just the truth, right? As independent as I feel that I am, I had support often. And when I didn't have support, the moment I could get support, I got support. And so that is the beauty of mentorship. That is the beauty of having a consultant that can go, oh, I see this gap here. I see the incongruency. How do we bring this into a cohesive blueprint so that you know the exact steps to take that don't require overwork, doesn't require overproduction or sacrifice or obligation? How do we bring that into a cohesive step-by-step plan? That would be the first way I support my clients, is the cohesive blueprint of their business so they know step by step what to do. Most entrepreneurs are focusing on things that don't move the needle. They might have massive followings, but they aren't monetizing, right? And so for me, I am in business for two reasons: to provide an impactful service to anyone that is in my sphere. I turn myself inside out for my clients to get their results, for them to get their results, and to provide for my family. And so I really don't care about likes or follows. I care about monetization, that the service I provide makes a difference and I make money, right? And so oftentimes we're just doing so many things that don't add to those two things: supporting your clients and getting results, and monetizing, right? And so when we narrow down to those two things, well, right there, that only takes a couple hours a day. That's all that takes. So that's the first way I support my clients. The second way I support them is in helping them work their own intuitive muscle. My job is to eventually fade out of their business. Initially, I'm there and I'm providing the intuitive support. I am the intuitive channel. I'm a conduit for their energetic sphere, their own intuition, to be communicating with them. And then eventually they're working that intuitive muscle so that I can fade out and they are fully sovereign in their business from there on out. And the third piece is unconditional love, acceptance, and support for them. There will be ups and downs. There are times where 1 week I am working a little bit more. Anytime my business scales, right? So sometimes this looks like growth, which means more time and money. And other times it looks like scale, which means not more time, but more money. And either one of those will oftentimes require a little more input from me, right? A few more hours that week than normal. And so I don't go, oh my gosh, I'm breaking my own rule. I'm a terrible workaholic now and I'm abandoning my family. Instead, I go, oh, I can be with this stretch. Yeah, oh, I've still got it, right? Like I can hustle with the best of them. And I choose to do this in a way that aligns with my natural rhythm. And so I stretch to hold more, and then I bring into place to fade myself out once again of my very own business, right? So I stretch, I bring in a new team, I get them up to speed, I'm holding them again because I have a big capacity. I can do a lot of that input, and then I fade myself out and I return to that 3 hours a day, 3 to 4 days a week, right? So again, unconditional love and acceptance for whatever phase the business is in. If you're launching, the first 6 months is going to require more momentum. And then you can move into that 3 hours a day phase, right? Anytime going from, like that 6 figures ready to go to 500K, I would say there's another stretch, 500K to $1 million, another stretch, $1 million to $3 million. There's another stretch there. So there's moments where we are in a bigger stretch. As long as we don't make that our normal, that just is the birth, right? That is really the passing through the birth canal. There is a bigger stretch in that moment and it doesn't stay that way, right? It's just in the birthing moment.
I'm so glad you brought up this concept of rhythm because it's really resonating with me, just because I've I'm on my second time building and scaling a 7-figure company. So the first time it was total grind mode, right? And just 24/7. And now it's just more intentional. I think of it as like sprint and recovery. I like to sprint. I like the intensity, but then you can't really sustain that piece. So it's better to have the waves of rhythm. So I'd love to hear from you, like when you're trying to be in natural rhythm, not everyone is the same, right? So how do you navigate that with your clients that, are in different phases and different seasons or lifestyles or values? Like, I'm just curious what that looks like.
Yeah, and everyone has a unique natural rhythm. This is not to be confused with a woman's cycle. Sometimes people are not a natural rhythm, and I'm not necessarily saying like lining up with your cycle. This is just your natural rhythm in life, and that comes into play for women, no doubt. However, I just wanted to, differentiate there. And everyone has their own natural rhythm. And so it's really important as I'm working with a client to get clear on what their natural rhythm is. And sometimes this is a process because we have been conditioned from the time that we are born to fall in line with the 9 to 5 programming. It starts with school, and then we go to college, and then we work. We're in the workforce. And what is that? It's all 9 to 5. And actually nobody is born with a natural rhythm of working in output in service 40 hours a week, being tapped out and burned out at the end of the day where they can't connect with themselves. They're overstimulated. They can't connect with their kids. They're tapped out. That is no one's natural rhythm. However, it is easy to repeat that when it's all we've been conditioned. It's all we've really known. So discovering your natural rhythm is such a playful adventure of going like, wow, when do I feel that wave of energy, right? Of inspiration, of motivation, of push, of momentum. You have that every single week. Now, is it every single day? Maybe not. I know for me, it's not. But everyone is different. For me, I love working Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from about 10 to 2. And then Mondays is a couple of hours, and Friday through Sunday, I'm off. The last week of the month, I don't do any sort of client fulfillment and usually no appointments. So that is a natural rhythm for me where I have heavy self-care in the morning, self-love and self-care. I am pouring into myself. I am giving myself all of me. Sometimes this is massages, and sometimes it's just being silent outside with no one around to give to other than myself. And then the end of the day is all family. It's completely family oriented, right? So that's my natural rhythm. It's my natural rhythm for right now. That will shift and change, right? And for someone who maybe doesn't have children, their natural rhythm is going to be a lot different than mine, where I'm working around the lives of children that span from 2.5-year-old twins to 17-year-old, right? There's a lot of moving pieces there. And so the most important thing as a working mother is that your natural rhythm is the first and foremost important. And everything else feeds off of that luscious, motherly energy. And so really putting you at the forefront of your focus is the best thing you can do for your business and the best thing you can do for your family. And that natural rhythm will shift and change. Maybe you're in a phase of parenthood. Maybe you are now an empty nester. And so learning, when are my intuitive or my inspirational, motivational pushes? When are my rest periods? When are my tapped out, like I'm not in a space of creating period? When is my play period, right? Really feeling into that and then working your business around that so that your business is falling in line and you're leading the business instead of the business leading you.
Wow. So one thing you said that really resonated and hit hard was about, as a mother, your natural rhythm is the most important. So it's like you're the center of your family. You're like the linchpin and you're prioritizing your own energy. And I think that that's such a rare thing to operate. Like as a mom, we're kind of conditioned to really prioritize our child's needs. So I'd love to hear from you. How did you really evolve into this unique perspective and value system?
Yeah. Yeah. I would say that this has been a state of consciousness that I've expanded into. Originally, I feel like I probably had the same conditioning as most mothers, which is the most important thing is to meet your child's needs. And while that is not untrue, the best way I meet my child's needs is by meeting my own. Otherwise, I'm in obligation and I am in sacrifice. And I hear this so often from moms, which is, I'll do my business and my purpose someday when they're grown up because they're just little for a little while. So I don't want to miss this, as if taking care of themselves somehow means they miss out on their children's childhood. And there was a moment in my young motherhood days too that I thought, I can't do all of this and be a good mom. And the greatest thing I did for my children was relieve them of being my burden, relieve them of the burden of carrying, one day I will get to do these other things. And instead, I allow them to be my inspiration. And so as they are my inspiration of, oh, what do I want my little girl to grow up? Right? Like I have 3 or 4 daughters, 1 son. And so I go, am I living and practicing what I hope for my baby girls? Do I actually want them to put aside every other aspiration aside from motherhood when they grow up? Or can I show them how they can have it all? That you can be an active, loving mama and make money and live your purpose. But that is why I learned to generate in 3 hours a day so that I could have both.
That is so inspiring. I love that you relieved your kids from being your burden to make them into your inspiration. So it's like you're really in tune with just your energy and your connections and the intention there on such a just minute, like granular level. And so I think it's really honestly inspiring, especially a mom with 5 kids. So where you're at now, like what's the next evolution of you and your business? Like what's next?
Yeah. Oh, what's next? I love where I am right now, and I'm always open for more, but definitely, making this a global message that we don't have to choose between motherhood or career. We don't have to choose between a mission or serving our family, that we can do both. Definitely getting as many entrepreneurs to 500K in 3 hours a day as possible. At that point, you have so many opportunities, whether you want to really stay there and just enjoy that lifestyle, or you move into more streams of passive income. It's a beautiful place of opportunity at that point. So getting as many entrepreneurs there as possible. And then supporting those few who want to go long and far, creating even more millionaires through my private one-on-one consulting, and leaving a legacy for my children. And when I mean legacy, I don't mean a whole bunch of money, right? That's great for them, but a legacy of knowing that they can trust their inner voice, a legacy of knowing that there is something beyond following the rules of mainstream, and to always enforce that they listen to their own intuition above my voice, above society's voice. Always listen to themselves.
Wow. Thank you so much. This is just so inspiring. And I love just hearing you speak your beliefs, because these are such liberating beliefs, and more women need to feel that type of freedom, right? To choose and make these choices. So I'm curious, like, I know we're kind of running up on time, but who is your ideal client that would get the most value out of working with you?
Yeah, I work with two sectors. One are those who are launching their business because I have launched four and I've supported hundreds of people in launching theirs as well. So you have this vision and you're wondering how the heck it can be monetized. I promise it can be monetized. Anything can be monetized, but it's easier to monetize something you love and you feel passionate about. My message here is don't do stepping stones. Some people will say, hey, I want to go do this so that eventually I can do the big real thing. If there's anyone that's saying, you need to do this, you need to be a coach and make money, and then you can do that thing, it's rubbish. You can just go immediately to your soul's calling. So that is some of the people that I serve continuously are those ready to launch into 500K in 3 hours a day. The other individuals that I serve are, I'm a secret back pocket weapon for those who are going into seven figures, multiple seven figures, and they want a psychic intuitive strategist in their back pocket to help them restructure. Often at that level, they need a restructure because they're at the top of their time. And they're like, how do I make multiple millions if I'm already at the top of my time? And so we're restructuring both energetically as well as strategically their business in order to scale into the multiple seven figures. And so those are some concierge clients, few and far between. They're just a few a year that I support in that manner. And then lastly, I do a DFY, a done for you, which is we launch your business for you and you get to step into a 6-figure business in 12 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. All in 3 hours a day. That's amazing.
Yes, it's amazing. It is amazing. And I just encourage and invite anyone who goes, that isn't possible, to just shift the verbiage and the language into curiosity. How is that possible? Why is that possible? Why is it possible for me? Right? Because the moment we go into curiosity and willing, we actually open the doors to seeing it. If we're in resistance and like, oh, this lady, she sounds like such a bitch. We know that's not true. You can't make that much. And you're contracting and you're closing down, right? And actually that it does not allow you to see any other way than no. And so going just a small shift into willingness and curiosity. Why would I be able to make 500K in 3 hours a day? Why would I be able to run a 7-figure business like Megan in 3 hours a day as a mom? Right? Just those small little shifts start opening new avenues.
They really do. Just the small question and allowing the space to even consider it for yourself. It's such a big shift. And so how can people get in touch with you if they want to learn more about working with you? What's the best way to reach you?
Probably my website, megancamille.com.
Okay.
I'm also on Instagram at the Megan Camille, and I'm on Facebook too, Megan Camille.
Perfect. We'll make sure we link to that. And I know there's people out there listening. A lot of people are just really looking to finally get that freedom and they just feel like it's not available to them. What would you say to them just as our parting words? Because I want to leave people with hope.
Yeah. Oh, that of course it's available to you. I realized at one point that everything I have was actually always already here, right? All I needed to know that I was my own greatest teacher. So take that, right? When you're feeling hopeless and like it's not going to work for you, you are your own greatest teacher and you have what is required. Your desire of your vision of your future is proof of demand. So if you have a business idea and you desire to offer this product or service to the world, that's already your proof that there are people out there demanding it, or the desire couldn't couldn't exist, right? In this 3D world of duality. You cannot have a desire that doesn't have the possibility of being met with its demand.
Thank you so much. It's been really fascinating getting to speak with you, and I can't wait to share this episode.
Thank you so much, Olivia. Fabulous questions and so fun connecting.
Absolutely.